The demonstration circle hums like a throat about to sing. Cold light, polished deck, 30 observers breathing as one machine. I float an inch above the inlaid glyphs, field steady, temples cool, filaments faintly lit. Horizon's banners hang motionless, as if even fabric waits for permission to move. The translators in the balcony click and blink. Somewhere behind the glass, an admiral swirls his tea, pretending not to watch me. He steps in. Noah Reed, 26, human officer. Boots quiet, gaze unarmored. The first thing I notice is the way his shoulders lower, as if he's setting down a weight I didn't know I carried. He doesn't strut, doesn't perform, doesn't try to make the circle his. He makes space inside it. He offers his hand, palm up, a shallow bowl of skin and trust. So you have somewhere to come back to, he says. My training lists 12 acceptable responses, each with a calibrated smile and an exit clause. I choose none. I extend my mind instead, the way a diver tests winter water with bare toes. Protocol wants a brush, a polite scan, a reportable impression. I go deeper, because some part of me thinks depth is safer than distance. I expect noise, the usual static of ambition and fear, the neon sprawl of ego. I expect locked doors and decoy corridors, hunger dressed as charm. I expect the cheap glitter of conquest. I find a library, everything in careful order, labeled drawers of contingency, color-coded patience, a slow architecture of duty, a warm, stubborn current running beneath the aisles. Protect, protect, protect. The word isn't shouted, it's woven into the shelving. And there, caught between plans and exits, I touch something small and unadorned, a place set aside for someone else. No name, just space, a waiting seat. His eyes meet mine, clear, attentive, a light you can stand near without burning. I let my field skim his skin, a harmless spring rain. He doesn't flinch, he just waits. There's a cost in that wait. I feel it. Men in rooms like this are taught to fill quiet with rank. He keeps it empty so I can hear. The lights over us flutter. Deck plates thrum. A ripple passes through the audience like a cough they agreed to share. My breath catches, and my field snaps back like a struck chord. The room leans. I steady. Protocol says I should apologize, document the anomaly, request a systems check, wrap my mind in the hard shell of terminology. He takes one step closer and stops, hands visible, voice soft. Are you okay? I nod before I remember I am supposed to be an emissary of steel. The nod feels treasonous and perfect. I am supposed to be above the gravity of a single human voice, but his concern lands anyway and holds. A junior officer near the rail scribbles something like, "Subject expresses anthropomorphic affect." Another checks the time. The Admiral's tea stops swirling. I should fill the silence with procedure. I should mention calibration drift, neuro-latency, minor fatigue. I should stand straighter, turn colder, prove I'm a clean edge. I don't. I stand in the quiet with him, the space between us like a warm pocket of air in a cold corridor. My filaments dim to a steady glow. I realize I am closer to him than etiquette allows. I do not correct it. The circle's boundary glyphs brighten, sensing proximity. Somewhere, an automatic log notes. Deviation. 4.2 seconds. Inside his mind, the last thing I touched lingers. Not emptiness, not hunger, but a place he made for someone who might need it. A palm turned up, an invitation with no price. I want to test if it was theater. I want to know if the seat is real. Begin secondary pass, someone orders over the intercom, voice filtered flat. I hear my curator's cadence ghosted in the syllables. Return to protocol, Lyra. Return to the narrow. I lower my hand toward his and stop a centimeter short. Close enough to feel the heat rise from his skin. Close enough to hear my own pulse change. Close enough to know I could return to that library, that orderly warmth, and not get lost. Consent? I ask, low, for him alone. His mouth tilts, not quite a smile, more like a door opening without a creak. Yes, I slip in again, deeper, not to pry, to witness. The catalog of worst-case plans waits, each labeled with a calm that scares me more than any threat. He's got routes for fire, for breach, for betrayal. In half of them, he ends up the last one on the line, voice steady, hands shaking only after. I touch a plan where he shields a stranger with his back and pays the price in quiet. I touch another where he disobeys an order because the order is wrong and he refuses to let a rule do harm in his name. A tremor rattles the circle, alarm tone, low, then rising. It isn't for us, it's a cargo deck drill, but sound blurs judgment. The observers shift. The room goes loud, and in that quick crest of noise, I lose my balance. My field stutters. My heel kisses the deck. Noah moves like he rehearsed saving someone long before he knew my name. No grab, no yank. He catches my shoulders with the respect of a librarian handling an old page and guides me to the cushioned wall. His breath comes near mine, not fast, just present. We hold still until the alarm settles back into the bones of the ship. Our breathing sinks without an oath to bind it. In his mind, a thought flashes, unguarded, bright as a safety light in fog. Just don't let this hurt her. I have been called asset, instrument, exemplar, resource. I have been measured, displayed, borrowed, returned. I have not been her. I lean closer, not to read, but to be heard by the part of him that asked for nothing. Barely brushing his cheek with my voice, I echo what I found there. No regrets. He startles. Only a breath, only in the eyes. He knows I didn't trawl his secrets like a thief. He knows I stepped around them like sleeping dogs. He knows I chose that one because it was the truth that held all the others steady. His fingers rest at my wrist a heartbeat longer than etiquette allows. Heat threads between us, unhurried, certain. Not ceremony. Not permission granted by a seal. A wish to be closer because it feels right. And feeling right is a language we're both fluent in, even if my people pretend we're not. Behind the glass, someone clears a throat that sounds like a verdict. The Admiral speaks at last, words I can't hear. A cluster of uniforms turns to my curator. A memo blooms in my peripheral display. Maintain separation. Limit pass depth. Record effect for review. I let the memo fade. Lyra, Noah says quietly, tasting my name like he intends to remember it, even if remembering costs him something. Most humans shorten us. He doesn't. He says the whole of it and leaves room around it. There, in the hum of the circle, with cameras blinking and eyes like bayonets aimed our way, I make a choice so small, no tribunal can indict it, and so large my bones take note. I let myself enjoy the nearness of a man whose mind keeps a chair ready for someone who might fall. The first spark lives there, under my own skin, where the field doesn't reach. It is not dramatic. It is not a comet. It is a pilot light catching, a warmth deciding to stay. I stand with him and, for the first time in a long time, I don't feel like a system. I feel like a person choosing where to stand. They ask for a second pass, like they ask for a blood sample. Routine, clinical, forgettable. The circle is empty now except for us, and the technicians ghosting the perimeter with their tablets. The banners don't move. The translators blink with patient hunger. I hover a thumb's width above the deck and try to pretend that the earlier tremor was a symptom, not a sign. Whenever you're ready, the intercom says. The voice is neutral, but neutrality is a kind of pressure. I look at Noah. He has not tried to fill the quiet with jokes or hero poses. He stands as if the circle is a fragile object, and he's afraid to leave fingerprints. The open palm is still available, but he lowers it so I won't feel required to take it. That consideration reaches me first, before any signal. "Consent?" I ask again. "Yes," he says again. And there's no dimming in it, no second thoughts folded under the word like knives. I angle my head, line up my breath, and go in. Deeper this time. Not the polite surface nets our diplomats cast, skimming for threats and slogans. I break water and swim into his contingencies. Ladder after ladder of worst-case plans, each rung taped and labeled, each outcome faced like an elder you respect and refuse to fear. In some, he dies early to buy minutes for others. In others, he lives long enough to collect the frightened and shepherd them past a narrowing door. There is a version where he hides a child in a maintenance locker and then laughs, loudly, down another hall to pull danger away. He is pragmatic about his own pain, an entry in a ledger, accounted for with a square. This is not the mind of conquest. This is the mind of hospice and fire drills. It rattles me. I was trained to recognize ambition by its rapid intake of breath. What I hear is exhale. I notice something else. He doesn't imagine me as a prize. He files lira Sciel next to emissary and guest and person, and then writes unknown cost and draws a circle around it to remind himself not to spend me. A shiver climbs the hull. A muffled clang rides it. I register the frequency. Cargo deck load test. Out of phase. If it remained a shiver, I would have ignored it. But the technicians glance up in the same second, and when many eyes move together, the air changes. People become an alarm before the ship does. I waver. My field ripples the glyphs. A narrow sound threads the room, rising, mechanical, designed to compel even bones. The noise folds me, not because it is loud, but because it is official. My curator taught me to return to structure when structure speaks. Return, Lyra. Narrow. Observe from a safe distance. I try to obey. I drop a centimeter. My ankle touches deck. My balance leaves without asking. Noah steps in without turning me into a task. One hand finds my shoulder, steady as a wall. The other hovers near my elbow, ready but not presumptive. He eases me to the padded ring that breaks the circle's hard geometry. A technician starts to protest about contamination of the demonstration zone, then sees his face and swallows the note. We breathe. We don't count together out loud. We just match the tide until the alarm lowers itself back into the ship's throat. The room de-escalates according to chart. The curve of panic decays. People become individuals again. My field steadies. In his mind, a flare goes off, bright, unadorned, a little prayer without a god to receive it. Just don't let this hurt her. It lands in me like a warm stone, heavy enough to anchor, gentle enough to keep. I could leave it there. Protocol says I should. But protocol has already lost more than it will admit in this room. I turn my head until my temple almost brushes his cheek. I keep my voice as soft as the thought I'm returning. No regrets, he startles. A private startle that doesn't involve flinching or theater. His pupils lift. His grip doesn't tighten. A small smile appears and doesn't declare itself. Gratitude that doesn't wag its tail. Relief without spectacle. The technicians pretend to discover urgent tasks along the wall. I can feel the Admiral's attention condense behind the glass. A memo lights in my peripheral. Limit exposure. Maintain distance. Log effect spikes. Counsel recommended. I let it slide past my awareness like rain down a treated surface. His fingers are warm on my wrist. It's only an anchor, but my pulse goes to it like a magnet to a sheet of paper. My training tells me to cut the link before two kinds of closeness braid. Mental and physical are not meant to harmonize in demonstration spaces. But music is already happening. Quiet, disciplined, sure. Thank you, I murmur, because my people aren't generous with gratitude, and I want to be poor in the right direction for once. For what? He asks. For catching me like I'm not a weapon. He breathes out. You don't feel like one. I hold his gaze. To many, I only feel like the hand that holds it. Something moves, small and decisive, behind his face. Not rage, not pity. A promise he doesn't want to speak because promises should be spent, not displayed. He doesn't need to say it for me to read what's printed in the way he stands. If someone tries to use me like that, he will become an inconvenient fact. I return to the pass, not because the intercom insists, but because I want to. I graze the edges this time, mapping the library like a careful guest who makes sure the chair legs find the same indent in the carpet. In that gentler drift, I find 3 things I didn't expect, and each one rearranges a shelf inside me. The first, a memory of him refusing a commendation because it would have erased the names of 2 maintenance workers who actually saved the deck. He wrote their names in a report so precise, it forced the brass to share the light. He accepted nothing when they tried to give him a ribbon anyway. The second, a private funeral for a ship he never served on. He read the casualty list alone in a storage bay, and then folded each name into a paper star. He floated them in a condensation tray and whispered them like coordinates. The third, a plan labeled in plain handwriting, if the emissary cries. He has blankets in the med alcove, a batch of strong tea, an exit route that dodges cameras, and a script composed of 3 sentences and a lot of silence. The script isn't very good. It is perfect. I surface with a feeling like altitude sickness and luck. I realize my hand has found his palm. I didn't intend it. He doesn't close. He lets me have the option of leaving at any second without making the departure feel like a failure. Procedure complete, the intercom says. Thank you for your cooperation. The words feel like labels stuck on the wrong jars. I should step away. I should thank the room, salute the glass, make a clean, reportable exit. I don't. I move closer instead, legs nearly brushing his. The light shifts in the circle's floor, responsive to mass and steadying. And I think of fields that insist on distance, and of people who become bridges anyway. Do you always keep that many plans? I ask. Only on days that end in Y, he says. And then, more serious, they help me be less afraid. You don't seem afraid. I am, he says. But fear is logistics. Love is logistics too. The word detonates quietly between us. He watches me, ready to retrieve it if it frightened me, to apologize without making me take care of his embarrassment. I don't flinch, not because I'm brave, but because the syllable doesn't feel like a trap in his mouth. It feels like work he's willing to do with his hands. Behind the glass, movement. My curator's unmistakable silhouette. Upright, austere, built from angles and verdicts. I feel her attention enter the room like weather. She will prefer that I recode this pull as a training artifact. She will prefer I speak of rapport and operational bonding. She will prefer many things. I slide my fingers free of his wrist and set them, deliberately, on the back of his hand. A contact that is not defensive. An edit to the log that only I will understand later. My field thins to a whisper so low it's almost skin. Second pass verified, I say to the air, to the recorders, to the future that will question me. Subject displays stable intent and resilient ethical framework. It is true. It is also the least interesting thing I could say about him. Noah's mouth curves again, and this time the smile arrives like a sunrise that someone decided not to interrupt with commentary. The circle hums, satisfied to have been a circle. The technicians relax. The intercom clicks off. The Admiral's tea begins to swirl again. Duty resumes its march like a drum you can predict. But something else is now marching beside it, slightly out of step, teaching the beat a kinder way to land. I feel taller and more fragile. I feel aimed. On the way out, I pass beneath the banners and pretend I don't notice when their edges move without wind. My filaments cool. I keep the warm stone of his thought in my pocket. No regrets, I tell myself, and the words don't echo like bravado. They settle like a plan, as practical as blankets and tea, as humble as a hand offered palm up, so someone like me has a place to return to. Night aboard Horizon doesn't darken so much as hush. The ship lowers her voice, thins her foot traffic, lets the maintenance drones murmur their lullabies into the ribs. Most doors go to privacy tint. The banners sleep like disciplined soldiers. My quarters are 8 legal meters wide and 10 emotional meters narrow. I don't go there. I ping him. Noah answers with a location tag, nothing else. Observation Gallery C. Lights at 20%. Heaters on low. A public space, technically. But the night shift prefers screens to stars. I take a service lift alone, camera domes following, and decide not to care if the footage becomes a training module on what not to do. The gallery opens like a lung on the ship's left side. A crescent of glass faces a slow spiral of dust. Horizons burn wake, catching stray particles and teaching them to glow. Chairs nest under the railing like folded birds. The heater panels cast a patient amber, the color of tea. I step in. My field lowers until I barely float. I want the floor to know me. He's already there, a silhouette against drifting light. No heroic stance, no curated angles. Just a man leaning on a railing, as if he can listen better with his elbows. When he sees me, he straightens without flashing his grin like a badge. He doesn't say you came, as if attendance were a favor he needs to name. He makes room beside him. The room feels made. It's colder at night, I say, which is true of ships and people. He shrugs off his jacket before I finish the sentence. Utility gray, worn at the cuffs, patched once with careful stitches that avoided drama. He holds it up the way he held his hand earlier, palm up to invite return. I don't need the fabric. I take it anyway, because I want the weight that means someone accounted for my bones. The lining slides over my uniform and whispers at my skin like a secret told by a kind aunt. It smells faintly of machine oil, paper, citrus soap, and the sort of sweat that comes from doing the job rather than performing it. I catch the impulse to apologize for accepting more than decorum allows and let it pass, the way you let a small bird fly out an open window. Sit? He asks. I sit. The heater hums behind my calves. Beyond glass, the dust drifts like snow that decided not to fall. We don't speak for a minute, measured in breath. It isn't silence as absence. It's silence as furniture we both know how to use. My curator will frame today as a lesson, I say. She will give me terms to put our effects into. Rapport, reciprocity, compliance drift. I'll frame it as a day, he says. We had one. We didn't waste it. I smile because he throws ropes across chasms with nouns like that. I wasn't prepared for a mind like yours, he laughs softly. It's an overcrowded storage unit with good labeling. Don't do that, I say. Don't make your care smaller than it is. The laugh fades into a listening face. Okay. I talk more than I intend. Not confessions, just inventory. The cost of being an emissary with a field that touches what people hide. Days when I am a pond, everyone wants to skip stones across. My people's habit of treating warmth like a rare metal we can't afford to trade. The exact tone my curator uses when she says, Lyra, return. He doesn't interrupt to fix the machine. He doesn't dedicate himself to understanding the unexplainable. He holds the railing and the quiet, and when a question arrives, it's small and honest. When you touched me, really touched me, what did it feel like for you? I turned toward the glass and let the dust spiral mark time. Have you ever memorized a hallway during an evacuation and then realized you'd been memorizing it your whole life? Yeah, like that. But warm. He accepts the image as legal tender. He doesn't ask for a receipt. He shifts closer, a planned accident that leaves his shoulder within heat's reach of mine. The heater favors our shins. My filaments dim to a sleepy pulse, the kind that says, nothing hunts us yet. I notice the jacket stitching again. Who patched this? I did, he says. Couldn't requisition a new one without 3 forms and a minor prayer. It's straight. I practiced on old banners. Vandal. Respectful vandal, he corrects. I steamed the creases first. I laugh before I can approve it. The sound hangs under the dome for a second, like a soft lamp. A cleaner drone pauses as if to listen, then moves on. Somewhere below us, a hydroponics bay sighs. The ship is alive enough to be a choir if you know where to stand. Do you ever hate the rules? I ask. I hate when rules forget who they're for. Most of them are just promises with numbers attached. He looks at me. I like promises. You keep them even when no one watches. Especially then, he says. Not as a boast, but like a habit he can't shake. He takes off one glove, thin, duty issue, worn smooth at the thumb, and sets it on the rail. His bare hand stays open, not a request so much as proof that the door hasn't locked. I match him with a small risk. I lower my field until gravity tucks me back onto the deck. My boots click. My breath fogs the glass for a heartbeat and disappears. I lift my hand and touch his temple with the back of my fingers. Not to read. To feel heat and the life inside it. He doesn't lean into it to dramatize consent. He lets me discover without taking my discovery for his ledger. His skin is warmer than the jacket. That should be impossible. I close my eyes to make room for the fact. He mirrors me. His palm meets mine. Careful. A meeting of maps. Then his forehead leans to mine, hesitating a fraction, waiting for the yes I give by not moving. The gallery narrows to 2 breaths, and the place they braid. We stand like that for slow counts of 10. The glass shows us as outline ghosts, 2 instruments touching to tune. My filaments glow a tender white, and then, without command, dim. I've never been this off-duty while technically on duty. I don't miss the armor. Why me? He asks quietly, as if the wrong answer could bruise us both. Because your mind left a chair out, I say. Because you close doors softly. Because you don't use fear as a superstition. Because today, when panic rehearsed itself in the bones of this ship, your first thought was small and enormous. Don't let this hurt her. He exhales with the sound people make when a weight they respected goes elsewhere. I meant it. I know. That's why it worked. We are close enough to kiss with an accident, which is exactly why we don't make it accidental. I tilt up. He meets me halfway. Not wolfish, not ceremonial, just present. Our mouths find the unambitious truth of 2 people who decided to stay where they are. It's a gentle press that grows warmer because we let time participate. No hurry. No audience. The heater approves. When we break, I'm not lightheaded. I'm steady in a way my training never rehearsed for me. He doesn't wipe his mouth, doesn't scan the door, doesn't turn the moment into evidence. He watches me like he's memorizing the exact shade my filaments take when I'm safe. If everything falls apart tomorrow, he whispers, I'll still choose you. A vow that doesn't require trumpets. a vow that doesn't even require me to answer for it to be true. I close my eyes because tears would give my curator too easy a script. I smile instead, the complicated kind that has a history and a future inside it. Then here is my answer, I say. I won't ask you to disobey what makes you you. I will ask you to keep being the person who knows when procedures are just well-dressed excuses. I can do that, he says. Good, because they'll try to name this. They'll call it contamination, leverage risk, cross-species attachment, a dozen phrases that clack like teeth with no tongue. They will try to buy or order it from us. They will offer promotions and threaten downgrades. They will polish cages. Let them try, he says, and the softness leaves a steel line behind. I'm stubborn. You noticed. I did. We talk then, low and leveled, about nothing that could hurt anyone else if it leaked. The way the med printers chewed through their filament last month. The hydroponics basil that tastes like hopeful air. The night shift cook who braids dumplings into constellations before steaming them. The courier drones that hum lullabies when bored. He tells me about his father teaching him to fix hinges, because doors tell you how a house feels. I tell him about the games my cohort played, silent chess with breath and eye. The gallery clock claims we've only stolen 20 minutes. My body insists the number is larger. My field, even at rest, memorizes him in proximity metrics, distance of shoulder, angle of neck, cadence of breath. I have never wanted to keep data so useless to a report. I stand to leave first, not to demonstrate control, but to prove to myself that standing doesn't end it. He rises as if refusing to outpace me. I hand him the jacket. He drapes it back over my shoulders instead, and gives me a look that says, "Let this be yours tonight." I accept the loan. Loans are trust in transit. We stop at the door. The hallway knows how to spy. I reach for the panel. He covers my hand lightly, not to prevent the exit, but to add one more layer of yes to it. His voice is a soft tool. Lyra. Yes. If they make this hard, we'll make it honest. I nod. The door opens with a sigh, ship's use when watching children leave a warm room. We step into the corridor, a place full of rules that forgot their faces. I feel the jacket's weight like a promise with sleeves. I don't look back at the glass. I don't need to. The stars will wait. The night will keep our outline for a few minutes, and then let it go, the way a good host knows when to clear a table. I walk toward whatever morning thinks it is, and for the first time in a long time, my footsteps sound like mine. Morning arrives like a summons. Horizon warms her lights and pretends it's mercy. My door blooms with a polite chime that means decision has already happened elsewhere. I open without speaking. 3 security officers in slate uniforms form a neat triangle in my threshold. Their badges pulse in unison, the soft heartbeat of sanctioned force. Emissary Lyra Sael, the lead says, voice borrowed from a manual. You are placed in temporary isolation pending procedural review. Duration indefinite. There's a script for this. It starts with graciousness and ends with compliance. I fold my hands, let my filaments glow a neutral white, and ask for the reason I already read in the memo that tried to hide inside the word temporary. Protocol risk, he answers. The syllables click, tiny handcuffs. The corridor behind them swallows breath. Far down the curve, I see a shadow that knows me better than it loves me. My curator, not here in person, but here by echo. Her orders ride the air the way cold rides steel. I'll accompany you, I say. The officer nods, relieved I didn't turn into a lesson. He steps aside to let me pass. That's when Noah arrives. He doesn't run. He moves like a man arriving exactly on time to a meeting no one scheduled. He wears work grays and a face he reserves for difficult rooms. I feel the air adjust, making space around him as if it recognizes an object of fixed mass. "Officer Reed," the lead says. "Restricted area." Noah nods like he's agreeing to the weather. "Understood." He looks at me as if we've already decided something and now we're just counting steps. Emissary. Noah. The officers note the name exchange, the way people note the presence of oxygen. Obvious, unsettling. The lead gestures toward the lift. "This way." We walk. My boots whisper platitudes to the deck. Noah falls in beside me with the casual precision of a person who has memorized the floor plan by heart and by need. He points out nothing. He announces nothing. He simply exists at a pace that dovetails with mine. My filaments settle. At the lift, the lid reaches for his access tag. Noah sneezes. I recognize the choreography a beat too late to applaud. The sneeze tilts his head. His hand covers his mouth. His glove brushes the badge reader. A diagnostic screen stutters, blinks green, then white. Somewhere below us, a subroutine yawns awake inside a security node it wasn't supposed to meet. The doors sigh open. "Bless you," I say. "Thank you," he answers. And in the exchange, there's a rope. We descend 2 decks. The lift doors attempt a courtesy delay. Noah fumbles with his datapad like a man trying to message a mother who never learned the updated app. He turns the screen toward the nearest camera, just long enough to show his clumsy thumbs, then drops the pad. It slides under the lift's lip as the doors close. The camera follows the programmer's disaster because cameras, like people, enjoy a competent failure. The car stops between floors. "Apologies," Noah says to the officers, tone carved from bureaucratic granite. "We're in safe step mode. Happens after last night's load test." The lead checks his wrist. A notification blips. Safe step engaged. The ship, loyal to its own systems, confirms the lie Noah told it earlier. We are between floors, between decisions, between the script and the blank page. Noah's hand brushes mine. A static pop kisses our palms. Nothing fieldish, just the universe approving with dust. His eyes ask a question I already answered last night. "Yes," I say, too low for uniforms. He keys a maintenance panel with 2 motions that pretend to be 1. A slot opens, like a mouth keeping a secret badly. "By regulation," he tells the officers, "we exit to the service conduit during safe step to avoid entrapment." "Didn't know that," one mutters. "Most don't," Noah says, and then, cheerfully, "That's why we write manuals." He kneels, shoulder to door, muscles in his forearms drawing lines a sculptor would swear are about precision rather than strength. The panel swings. Cold air rises, tasting of ozone and old battles. The conduit waits in narrow light, the spine of the ship exposed, the arteries humming a song about mass and motion. "This is irregular," the lead tries. "So is the alarm that got us here," Noah replies, standing polite as gravity. He gestures toward the hatch. "After you, emissary. Low clearance left, high pipes right. Keep your head down." He doesn't push me. He does not go first. He gives me the place in a line that can bite. That's what trust looks like when it's a verb. I drop into the conduit. The metal bites my palms with harmless teeth. My field wants to flare. I keep it to a whisper to avoid interference with the sensors that might notice a glow where a glow shouldn't be. The officers follow with the gracelessness of rank encountering reality. Noah seals the hatch behind us, and the lift hum fades to a threat we might outpace. "Head toward node 12, he says, voice calibrated for pipes. "Short jog, then left." "Read," the lead warns, but the warning lacks vitamins. He doesn't know what to threaten us with in here. The conduit equalizes. We move. Cable looms like black vines. Heat breathes in puffs. My knee scuffs a plate. It sings a small, honest note. Noah maps the miles like a prayer he repeats for calm, palm to every rung, breath measured to the ship's pulse. Twice he stops us not for danger, but for timing, counting the sweep of a maintenance drone's routine, so we pass when the eyes are elsewhere. His worst-case plans are not fantasies. They are the carpentry of escape. "Why are we doing this?" one officer asks, hating the answer before hearing it. "Because the review would decide before it began," Noah says. "Because what Lyra found scares people who make decisions about other people. Because my oath is to protect, and that includes protecting a guest from being turned into a hypothesis." "Protect me from what?" I ask softly, testing the shape of letting him say it out loud. "From being made into an it," he says. We reach a grate. Through it, I glimpse Habitat Ring. A school zone at this hour, empty of children but full of the ghosts of their chatter. A mural shows a whale made of constellations carrying a city on its back. Someone has drawn a small ladder leaning against the whale's smile. There is always a ladder in human art. I find that beautiful. "Left," Noah says. We shimmy. Sweat beads where even emissaries sweat. My filaments glow low with concentration. Behind us, the officers mutter into their comms and find only elevator etiquette. Noah has blinded local sensors, not the ship's eyes in general. He is a surgeon, not a vandal. Somewhere miles away, the Admiral frowns. "Auxiliary hatch ahead," Noah whispers. "It'll protest. Ignore it." The hatch protests. We ignore it. He flips 3 access keys, a private rhythm he learned by asking the right machines, the right questions with the right tone. The panel unlocks like a stubborn elder persuaded by tea. We spill into a foam-insulated utility bay. The floor is honest concrete. The air tastes of tool oil and patience. Parked in the cradle is a service shuttle, with a smile only a mechanic could love. Ugly, reliable. A box that believes in boxes. "Read," the lead says. "Last chance acid in the name." "I'll sign for it," Noah answers. "And the consequences." "Authorization?" the second officer demands with a shake that wants to be power. "Not for you," he says, already moving. I plant myself. This is where I should make the speech about duty, charter, reputation. I do. I make it to myself in the exact tone my curator would use, ending with the cadence that turns choice into endpoint. "Noah," I say aloud, "I should refuse. I should go and argue from within. I should let them call this feeling by their names and outlast the names." He meets my eyes across the bay. "You can. And if you do, they'll keep you alone long enough to teach your body to agree with their story." He doesn't touch me. He doesn't tell me what to do. He reminds me what rooms do to people. That's harder to refuse than a hand. I walk. I reach him. I set my palm on his. First knuckle to first knuckle. A bridge small enough to cross with a breath. We don't do drama. We perform logistics. "I choose you," he says simply, "not the procedure." I feel the floor tilt toward our future. Then I choose not to be a case study. We board. The shuttle wakes like a dog old enough to know when it matters. Noah's fingers move over the console with the tenderness of a man writing a name. He feeds it. Lies that sound like truth. Maintenance check. Hull integrity sweep. Authorized drift beyond outer ring. The bay door hesitates, then decides trust is easier than argument. Sirens bite air 3 seconds late. Straps, buckles, breath. The officers pound into the bay and stop at the line where jurisdiction ends and mass begins. The lead makes one last announcement. "You are making a mistake." "Then we'll fix it," Noah says, and launches. The shuttle slams memory into our spines, and then lets go. Horizon falls behind like a city you love and can't live in anymore. The service channel opens. Static and anger crowd it. Noah lowers volume until the universe stops shouting. He glances at me. I take his hand. We don't entangle fingers. We align them like tracks. My field rises, not as a weapon, but as a veil around us both. In that thin hum our minds touch. Not pressure, not theft. Pure consent. He lowers his guard the way you lower your voice near sleeping children. I bring him to the chair he keeps empty. We sit there. We watch ourselves choose. No regrets, I whisper. None, he answers, and means it in a way that makes the word a map. Outside, the stars are not waiting. They are busy. We thread a dark seam between patrol paths, riding the mathematics Noah practiced alone in storage bays after midnight. The shuttle groans like an old friend, asked to dance once more. Alarms bloom behind us and die in the airless garden we leave. Ahead, the seam of hyperspace, a subtle bruise in reality where ships slip like apologies. The panel blinks a warning about jurisdiction, about caution, about being small in a large room. Noah looks at me as if to ask whether I'd like to remain visible a little longer. Go, I say. He goes. The world folds. The stars smear. My field snaps to cradle instead of shell. Gravity argues, then concedes. For a breath, we are the only quiet thing in a loud universe. Behind us, a chamber fills with men who read everything except the love two people decided not to hide. Ahead of us, a corridor without cameras waits to be built by footsteps. I keep the jacket on my shoulders and the promise in my pocket. We fall into the dark seam together, and for the first time since I learned to raise a field, I feel unafraid of what comes next, because next is something we will name ourselves.